So we are following some breaking news here on the Law and Crime Network. The fiance of a missing Colorado mom has been arrested, and just moments ago, the police chief in Colorado, the Woodland Park police chief, held a press conference saying that Patrick Frazee, who is the fiance, was arrested at 7 a.m. His and Kelsey Berreth's daughter is in protective custody, conducted multiple searches of Kelsey's home and other areas. And Frazee, the fiance, is charged with first-degree murder. The police chief says her body hasn't been found, but they do not believe she's alive. The couple's child is with Kelsey's family. What a disturbing update in the case of this missing Colorado mother. I want to bring in my guest, Kenney Baden, criminal defense attorney, also a host here. Sorry to bring you in such a grim story here.
I know, terrible story.
But it looks like they charged him with first-degree murder without a body.
Right.
So they must have some pretty good evidence he's the one.
Absolutely. First of all, he was the last one who saw her, right? He's the only one right now with a motive. He's the one who could have driven her body 600 miles with her cell phone, the only one. And they went to the landfill, followed him to the landfill, and did searches of the landfill, then his property. So they probably have some evidence that she's absolutely dead, or else they wouldn't charge him with first-degree murder. It's a tragedy, another tragedy.
Just a horrible story, and just to see the photo there of the couple with their child, very sad that this child is going to grow up with, you know, their father in jail at least now, and the mother presumably dead. That's what it sounds like from the police anyway. What's kind of weird is that Berreth's employer got a text from her phone. She went missing Thanksgiving, and her employer got a text from her phone on November 25th saying she wouldn't be able to work that week. It sounds like that whoever did this to her was the one that sent the text message to the employer.
So either he did this or he had some cohort with him who did this, because the message was sent also. They can trace the message from where it was sent. Not just through the cell towers, by the way, but through the phone application itself, if they find the phone.
All right. Well, we're going to continue to very closely monitor this story. We're monitoring a press conference that's going on in Colorado, and if we get any new updates, we will bring them to you. So stay with us here on Law and Crime. All right, here. So you're listening to some testimony of the vehicle that this man is describing, seen going into the spot where Heather Elvis is last known to be because of her cell phone. I'm going to bring in my guest again, Linda. As we look at this case, that's really, it's so weak. This is really the strongest part of their case.
Right, except for the fact that who's driving the truck? We don't know. I mean, maybe Cindy's driving that truck, not Heather, not Tammy.
Yeah, and, I mean, it's a vague description of the truck. And look at the video. It's terrible. Look at it.
Truck. What could you possibly be? One of 5 million other trucks that are on the road?
And during the cross, that's one of the points that the defense attorney tried to make there, that, like, come on, just because you see a truck that looks like the one that Cindy and Tammy drove, there's still some reasonable doubt there that they just a little bit. So let's continue to listen, Linda, to some more testimony from Grant Fredericks, who's a forensic video analyst, and he's going to talk about that video.
As two vehicles enter the view, we can see the same front pattern that we saw in the sidewalk video earlier, same reflections, same diffusion of light. There's a reflection off of the roof. This reflection is caused by a vehicle going underneath an overhead street lamp, and the reflection is on the same portion of the roof. We've got the distinct pattern in front of the vehicle, the headlights.
Some more breaking news to report to you here on the Law and Crime Network. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg underwent surgery today for early-stage lung cancer. The Supreme Court just announced moments ago. The 85-year-old justice is being treated at Memorial Sloan Kettering here in New York City. According to a press release issued by the Supreme Court, 2 nodules in the lower lobe of her left lung were discovered incidentally during tests performed at George Washington University Hospital when she was being treated for rib fractures sustained in a fall on November 7th. And according to her surgeon, both nodules were removed during surgery, were found to be malignant during the initial evaluation. Post-surgery, there was no evidence of any remaining disease. Justice Ginsburg is resting comfortably and is expected to remain in the hospital for a few days. Linda, obviously this is quite a scare, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but it appears from the statement from the U.S. Supreme Court that she will be okay, and I would expect her to return back to the bench.
Well, we hope that, because when she had pancreatic cancer and she was undergoing chemo, she sat for oral arguments. And then the day in 2012 after her husband died, she had surgery for colon cancer. So she is a survivor, and we hope that she survives this.
We certainly do, but the reality here is, and we can't ignore it, is she's an 85-year-old woman, and anytime there is a diagnosis like this, she's in great health, she exercises every day, but your body is not quite as able to fight things off as it is when you're younger.
And she's frail. You can see that she's got a frailty about her, and it could be that those fractures when she fell were actually fractures that were actually caused by the nose of the cancer, because that can cause fractures of the bones.
It caused her to be more sensitive to the fall. Well, we wish the very best to Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and we hope she quickly recovers. We're going to continue to monitor that story out of Washington, D.C. If we get any more updates, we'll bring it to you here live on Law and Crime. For now, let's turn back to that case that we were covering, the Tammy Moore case. She is the woman facing conspiracy and kidnapping charges for allegedly working with her husband to kidnap her husband's mistress. We're going to hear some more testimony from the victim's co-worker, Denise Hart. Take a listen.
Now, during the time she worked at Tilted Kilt, has there ever had any problems, to your knowledge, with anybody as far as getting along with them or fighting, or there being any sort of animosity?
No.
And how would you describe how she reacted to Tammy Moore?
She acted very scared and concerned.
And was she ever scared of Sydney Moore?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to speculation on someone's statement. All right, let's go ahead.
All right, folks, just moments ago, we got the mugshot in of the man who was arrested in connection to the missing disappearance of a Colorado woman. This is Patrick Frazee. He's being held at the Teller County Jail, facing charges of first-degree murder and solicitation of first-degree murder. Of course, this is in relation to the disappearance of Kelsey Berreth, who was last seen in public on November 22nd. And there's been a frantic search to find her. She is now based on these murder charges, unfortunately presumed dead. I have Kenney Baden, criminal defense attorney, here on set with me, and I have a lot of questions about this. Number one, we don't have a body.
No.
So
not yet.
Not yet. And we also have this solicitation of first-degree murder charge. What could that mean?
Well, that means he went to someone, and we don't know who that someone was, a professional hit person, a family member, a friend, female or male, to try to get help to kill his wife, obviously.
So another person could have basically, and again, we don't know, we're waiting on details now, but another person could have ratted him out, and that's why he's facing the murder charges, potentially.
It could be somebody that he even told something to and that ratted him out. It doesn't have to be a snitch in the terms of a co-conspirator with him or somebody he went to. But
or maybe someone he went to and they said, no, you're crazy, and then
we're going to find all this out because they know she's dead. They took his carpet this morning, rolled up his carpet. They don't take a whole carpet out of the house. They know she's dead, and probably from this snitch.
And they have not located the body, but they believe she was killed at her home. And remember, what makes this story even more tragic is the two of them, Patrick and Kelsey, had a 1-year-old daughter who is now in protective services. It is just so horrible when these sorts of things happen. We don't know what was going on with their relationship, but I can't help but think of another case that we were tracking very closely in Colorado, and that's the case against Chris Watts.
This is like self-help divorce when you have a child. At least he didn't kill the child. I mean, that's all I can say.
Thank God.
It pains me to say at least, but thank goodness.
Absolutely, because, you know, there are so many different options other than turning to violence like this. But we're going to continue to gather details on this. We're going to be tracking it all day long here on the Law&Crime Network. As I mentioned just a few minutes ago, we were able to get the mugshot into our newsroom of Patrick Frazee. He is now being held on charges of first-degree murder and solicitation of first-degree murder. About an hour or so ago, the police chief in Woodland in Colorado, where this happened, held a press conference briefing reporters on a few of the details, but again, we're not getting much information in terms of how they knew. The other question, very quickly to you, Linda, is there's also the possibility that he could have confessed when they were questioning him as well, which is what happened with Christopher Watts.
Right, he could have absolutely confessed. The pressure may have gotten to him, and that he did. And you know, if he confessed, or if there is a snitch or an informant, what that means is that he's not going to be able to rely on, oh, we were in a fight, she accidentally, you know, fell backwards and hit her head, and I just panicked. So that defense is over.
Right, because if he was going to raise that defense, he could have done that the moment she was discovered missing,
right,
and told authorities that. To let all of these weeks go by is very, very, very frightening. Okay, we're going to continue to monitor that. As I mentioned, I want to turn back to the case that we're covering here on Female Felons Day. We're looking into the case against Tammy Moore. She's the woman who's accused of conspiring with her husband to kidnap her husband's mistress. So let's listen to some more testimony from a lieutenant from the police department who was looking into this. Take a listen.
We collected some cigarette butts that were on the ground, and at that point we had closed the landing down because we were bringing in divers to search the water. So we wanted to keep any other traffic out of the boat landing, and that was the purpose of collecting the cigarette butts. That's what was there as we found it that morning.
Okay, and what did you do next?
From there, I was asked to assist the detectives to go to a location on Highway 814 that is the residence of Sydney and Tammy Moore.
Okay, and did you snap any pictures?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
I'm going to show you now 97, I'm sorry, 95, 96, 97. Tell this court if those are the pictures you took.
Yes, ma'am, I took these photographs.
Okay, and when did you take the photographs?
They were taken on December 20th, 2013.
Okay. Your Honor, this time the state wishes to place the photographs into evidence and publish them to the jury. That's 95, 96, and 97.
Okay.
Okay. All right. It's 95, 96, and 97. You're admitted in evidence without objection.
And if you don't mind, Pete, do you mind initialing on the back to indicate that these are the photographs you took and the date that you took them?
Okay. I've initialed and dated 95, 96, and 97 with my initials and the date of 12/20/2013.
Okay, and if you don't mind, before we publish them to the jury, tell this jury a little bit about when you got there, who was at the residence.
I arrived at the residence with Lieutenant Squires, Detective Wilson, Detectives Hardy and Cobble came a little short time after we were there. At the residence was Tammy Moore and her mom and dad. The mom and dad's residence is immediately next to Tammy and Sydney's residence.
So when you got there, was Tammy already there, Tammy Moore?
She was, but she was not in her residence at the time.
Where was
Everybody was in the parents' residence.
Okay, and then y'all get there, and what happens?
The purpose of our visit was mainly to go there to see if we could find anything that would assist us in locating Heather Ellis. I was simply there to assist the detectives in, in anything that could develop from that point on. The detectives went up and knocked on the door at Tammy and Sydney's house. There was no answer. I don't recall if they knocked on the father's door or if the father came out, but there was a conversation between the detectives and the dad.
And when you say the father and the dad, who are you talking about?
Tammy's dad.
Okay. And then what happens?
A short time later, Tammy came out of the father's house, spoke with the detectives, and they basically asked her if...
Your Honor. It sounds like this was a conversation we had.
That's the same hearsay. Again, what he observed.
Okay, just listening to some more testimony from Lieutenant Peter Cesar from the police department. I'm here with Linda Kenney Baden, and let's talk a little bit more about what evidence in this case that they actually have against Tammy Moore.
Let's see. Can't find any.
Yeah.
I can't find any.
But the crazy thing is I'm not giving anything away here. All you viewers will find out. She was convicted. And why was she convicted?
It goes to my theory. It's called #Prison Express. She testified. She was terrible. She gave them evidence in her testimony that she didn't have.
I mean, you viewers are not going to believe this. We're going to show some of her testimony.
I can't wait.
I know.
I can't wait.
I mean... Wow. So we'll show that in the next hour. But in the meantime, we are following a couple of breaking news stories, so I'll give an update on that. And also, there were some pretty scandalous text messages that Tammy Moore sent from Sydney Moore's phone. Now, here's the crazy thing about this. Tammy Moore found out about the affair her husband was having, and literally she punished him in the weirdest way possible. Okay, she chained him to the bed at night, and she confiscated his phone. But there were some pretty interesting text messages she sent from his phone, and we'll go through that on the other side of the break. Stay with us here on Law and Crime. You're not going to want to miss it. All right, I know the computer screen is in the way of that officer's face, so it's a bit hard to see what he's saying, but you can certainly hear it. And you are hearing some of these text messages between Tammy Moore and her friend Christine, and they're pretty damning, right?
Well, they're pretty damning, but they're also damning if you think about this case. Here's two masterminds, Tammy and Sydney, masterminding a kidnapping, really, because Christine gets it. She says, come on, you two are always together. You guys are adorable together, So it's interesting that maybe she realized that the defendant, Tammy, was kind of trying to set up a whole argument for doing something and not be a suspect because she was just mad at her.
Interesting. So you actually think she was trying to plant stuff in those
She could, because
But she was saying how much she hated her husband.
Yeah, but that's okay. But she's committing a murder.
So she's trying to say, I hate it. I would never work together to kill this woman.
Right.
But then
even though they're not now charged in this trial with murder.
But doesn't that then give her incentive to want this woman gone, though?
Oh, sure, and that could work the other way, and obviously it did. Once she testified, people saw who she was and said, "Oh, now I understand everything that went on with these two masterminds."
Interesting, Linda. Okay, let's listen to a few more minutes of the text messages. Listen very, very carefully what Tammy Moore said.
Some web history where she looks up on the phone, what hours can you purchase liquor in Arizona? And it's Yahoo search. Then there is a text messages to Christine Johnson. Damn, we don't sell on Sunday or after 7, and grocery stores don't sell it. LOL, you have to go to a liquor store. Then there is a message from Christine Johnson saying, really? And then there's a text message from Tammy to Christine, yep, Southern bullshit. Tammy sends another message to Christine, crown with a splash of cranberry. There's another message to Christine, I'm bored. And then there's another text message after that that's uncategorized. It said, had to settle for Southern comfort, ick. Then there's another message to Christine Johnson, yeah, babe, they hate him too. There's another message from Tammy to Christine Johnson, they know daddy ducked up our lives. There's another message to Christine after that. It says, they know what I have to do. And then there's an incoming message from Christine says, and I mean that. Then there's an outgoing text message from Tammy to Christine. Now he had to stay chained to the bed until further notice while I live my life as a single woman. It's all good. And then there's another message from Tammy to Christine after that. Have hope that things will be okay after I enjoy my single year.
And were those messages deleted?
Yes, they were.
Now he had to stay chained to the bed until further notice while I live my life as a single woman. She chained her husband to the bed when she found out about this affair. That's one way to deal with it.
Look at those two adorable faces.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so this trial, you think this might be some dry testimony. We're hearing about text messages. So I guarantee you this. It is about to get very, very interesting because Tammy Moore takes the stand in her own defense to explain why it was not possibly her that kidnapped Heather Elvis. And all I can say is she bombed. Stay with us. That's next.